Good morning all. The topic for my research is postgraduate education in hospitality, and I'm trying to understand if this is actually leading or misleading the field. I will, sorry. This is better, right?
Just the errors.
So I should be pressing this one. Okay, sorry about that. My presentation will begin with my research objectives, and then I'll talk about my case study, a little bit about myself and the foundation of my research, my literature review, and the questions that came up through my journey with the literature review. Then I'll talk about my methodology, my method, my timeline, and of course I'll conclude with my contributions with this research. My research objectives is mainly to explore the pathways that hospitality students as postgraduates experience during the course of study and also during their work experience in the hotel industry. If we remember what we heard in the morning speech with postgraduate education, we know that students doing postgraduate studies are older and wiser. So if they've made a decision to further continue in the hospitality industry with a postgraduate qualification, there are certain specific pathways or a specific future area that they're looking into, and I'm interested to explore that. And looking at the scope that the industry has, hospitality industry, you take any area with regard to tourism, be it lodging, traveling, event management, restaurants, or even recreation, hospitality is a part and parcel of it. And given the fact that in New Zealand economy, the tourism sector is going to have a huge impact, there's a huge growing demand for hospitality students. With further to that, I would like to encourage discussion on what we are actually teaching these students, given the fact that I'm also an educator in hospitality now. What we're actually teaching inside the classroom, is that actually fitting with what the students are going to do as a work in the industry? Are they work ready? We're not talking about certificate or diploma or degree holders, we're talking about postgraduate students here. So I've chosen to do a case study to understand this, and no surprises there. My case study is on AUT for the main reason that that is the only university in whole of New Zealand that offers specialized professional courses in hospitality. And the postgraduate qualifications are promising skills that are vital to senior level hospitality management or to help with further studies. So that is the reason why I've chosen AUT. And the other important reason is that there are limited or no studies done much about the career paths of postgraduate students. Extensive literature has been covered about tertiary education, graduate level. But what about postgraduates? Like how I said earlier, they're older and wiser and they know they've chosen this path after a certain period of work in the industry, or they definitely have previous knowledge from an education point of view in this industry. So, but we can hardly find any. In fact, I did not find any literature with regard to New Zealand. So I'm hoping that this will be the first of its kind in New Zealand. And for me personally, this is very important because I came to do my master's in AUT in 2003, and I was the first graduate of the master's degree here. So I started this postgraduate degree in New Zealand, and I have a history of 10 years behind me now after this course. So I thought it is important to take a look back and see, because I worked in the hotels here and now I am an educator. So I'm just interested to see what the journey of other people are like. So with that, I will give a little bit about myself. I started my hospitality journey with a level 7 qualification from India, which is a bachelor's degree. Now this level 7 is what, according to NZQ standards, it is. And before I finished my course in the final year, I got to campus interviews, started as a management trainee, and then ended up in middle management roles. After 5 to 6 years of experience, I moved to higher level education, came to New Zealand, did my master's, which is a level 9. But here, that's why I put the word there as international student. I started off as a room attendant. So that's the benefit of doubt I give myself. 15 hours work permit at that point. I've been through interviews where I've been asked questions. You do not have even 2 days full-time ability to work, 8 hours each day to 16 hours. You're allowed to work only 15 hours. So I can't even apply as a part-time supervisor. Forget about any other jobs. But when I got my residency, the following year I was one of the lucky ones to have got it, but I moved only up to the next level, supervisor. But given the fact that I have already been in this management positions before, and I've already had a level 7 qualification, the fact that I had to start from scratch and move up for reasons like not having the required work permit or not having the local area experience, that is a New Zealand Kiwi experience. Now here, what I'm trying to make it a point is, whether I talk about Indian hospitality, we call that Satkar, or Manake Tanga in New Zealand, the language of hospitality is global. The standard operating procedures we have when we treat a customer, whether you're from India, China, New Zealand, any part of the world, we treat the customer following the similar SOPs or standard operating procedures. The way we check in a guest, check out a guest, attend to their order, clean the room, and how we check it, it's all not very different. Then with hospitality, with the level 7 and level 9, there is this sort of a difference, which I have put it out as my paradoxical experiences. Now why I've used the word paradoxical is because my experiences with my qualification and my work in the industry was inconsistent with what I expected. It was a surprise to me. I thought I was moving into a developed country where recognition is there for qualification. I am in a global industry, but that just didn't quite go the way I thought it would. So I just didn't have the patience to work my way up. I moved on to teaching. And I realized my flair for that, because having become a supervisor, I end up being department trainer for training this, that. I realized my people skills and my patience in teaching. I thought, well, I have this experience, this qualification, I need to do justice to my qualification as well. I don't need a master's degree to work as a room attendant or as a supervisor. So just with that thought, I have moved on to do my research. So when I got this opportunity to do research, the topic, I was advised to do something that I'm passionate about and I can think about it and maybe do further research on the same topic. So without any second thought, I knew this is what I wanted to do, because with my thesis for my master's, I was dealing with a lot with this theory, glass ceiling theory, which is very obvious with the hospitality industry, regardless of qualifications. We have a lot of these issues, but why I'm doing this in the School of Education and not with the School of Tourism and Hospitality is mainly because this theory that I'm likely to question here. I grew up listening from my parents, and now I'm passing it on to my children too. Study more, that's your future. You'll only get better job opportunities. But looking at my paradoxical experiences, I'm actually questioning this theory. Is that actually happening in hospitality? So I had a lot of questions that came up with it. I'll share a few with you. A couple of questions are, the curriculum, is that designed to make me work ready to work as a senior level manager there? Or am I becoming an academic, just doing research and teaching? Is that my future? Or does the industry even want postgraduates? Because we started postgraduate study only in 2003. The industry was still growing then. So what has happened in the past 10 years? Where has it benefited or contributed towards the growth of hospitality? But another important question I've got to share here is, are educators taking money off these postgraduates on false pretenses? Now this has come from me being an international student as well. We have a lot of promises out there, but how many of us are able to match it? So I've chosen my methodology. My methodology is mainly based on understanding quite a bit of experiences. So I've chosen phenomenology as the preferred method because I'm only trying to understand the situation. I'm not here trying to solve any problems. So the reasons why phenomenology is the preferred one is mainly because I'm trying to understand the meaning of lived experiences. I need to know that, and my prejudices and pre-understandings are going to influence my interpretations, which is actually a good thing, which will only enhance my understanding of the interpretation that I hear from others. So I have decided what my methods would be for data collection and data analysis. I'll be doing interviews. 3 separate groups will be interviewed, and the same participants will be interviewed separately on an individual basis because they'll have more time to have an open discussion and I can use more indicative questions and probe. So the groups I'm looking at are students, maybe a graduate from my own cohort and someone who recently graduated and a current student. Employers, I'm looking at the top level, recruitment level, and at the operational level. And educators, I'm looking at someone who has taught this previously and is now teaching somewhere else, so they have some area to compare. Someone who's currently teaching, and a supervisor for PhD who's awarding the level 10 qualification, the highest qualification in New Zealand for postgraduate studies. So my method will be to use en vivo and voice-centered relational approach. Now I must admit I'm a bit of a novice in this area. I am attending workshops on en vivo. I've done my theory and understanding and I realize that it will help me to organize my data well. I'll be using VCRA, for which also I have only theory knowledge. I have to do a little bit more of study into that because the factor that the I helping me to understand the individual's experience related with the emotions is what I'm actually trying to understand here. So this is my timeline. If everything goes to plan and works out well for me, I'm hoping to get my doctoral candidature confirmed by the end of this year, which will be followed by my ethics approval. And then I've got 2 full years to work on my data collection, data analysis, and then writing. I don't know how many drafts I will write to get it to the final stage and eventually submit it to my supervisor. So that is my plan of action till the end of 2018, and hopefully by the end of 2019 it should be all good to go. So I'm going to conclude now with what my research findings will help. It is definitely going to help us understand certain terms, underemployment and over-education. These were just terms that I came across during my master's theory literature review, but I actually lived that. I knew I was over-educated and underemployed. Now, with me, my experience was like that. I was an international student and had to start off at that level. But looking at all the acquaintances I have, everyone who's been associated with postgraduate education in hospitality, I've not found anyone in the industry. I see everyone in the academic field. Now that is my limited understanding. I want to put it out there and find out, is everyone looking at it from an academic point of view, or should we be training postgraduate students for the real working hotels, restaurants, or whatever area the tourism industry is trying to develop, and do they actually have the jobs there? So at the end of my literature review, I actually changed my question quite a few times, and now the topic of my research, a question, is a postgraduate qualification in hospitality, where to from here? Okay, a decision to study postgraduate in hospitality itself is not something you make at the spur of the moment, like a certificate or a diploma course. It's a well thought out process. But what is there after that? What are the jobs, or where are the jobs? That's what I'm looking at. So the contributions will be helpful to help meet the challenges caused by underemployment and over-education. Literature does suggest a lot of reasons related to staff turnover, people leaving the industry, mainly because of lack of recognition of academic qualifications, not getting job satisfaction, out of which one of them I am also a part of that. I moved mainly because I wanted my masters to be recognized in a good way, not by working as a supervisor or as a middle manager level. Or do the jobs go in a way that if you know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, or is it your qualification? So with this research, the benefits or the loss will be for the industry for the three groups that I have chosen. So I'm trying to understand, are there misconceptions about the education that the industry does, and what I can do towards helping with the challenges in underemployment and over-education. Those are my references, and thank you very much for listening to me. It's big thanks to my supervisors who have taken the time out to come here. Thank you very much. Thank you.